guys. Welcome to another week of Evolve. I'm so happy to have you back, sharing some energy and some time with me this week. I am your host, Monette Brann-Natta. And this week, I'm excited because we have a special guest who understands so many incredible things and is going to be able to enlighten us. I want to first let you know that April 1st was World Autism Awareness Day. And to that end, my guest is an expert in this field and will be joining us shortly, like I said, to educate us from the inside out about the subject. Brenda wears many hats. In her state of New Jersey, she is currently the director of empowering parents to address and prevent obesity in their children with special needs, the Obesity Prevention Project. Brenda is also a parent group specialist for the Northwest region, covering the state, county, North Suffolk, and Warren under the START project, a project in which they offer technical assistance and support groups. And she is also the program coordinator for the New Jersey statewide parent-to-parent mentoring program, where they are matching up parents and providing support based on cultural background, disabilities, and the region in which one lives. And there are many more things. I mean, we would do the whole show if I was reading her entire resume of all of the incredible things that she does. But this group that she works with is affiliated with the Parent-to-Parent USA, and they also have a chapter in Florida here as well. So my Florida listeners, this may pertain to you. Brenda was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and she has a passion for community that was bred into her in her homeland. But her most important role to date is that of proud mother of two amazing kids. Her 17-year-old Norberto, I'm going to get corrected on this. I'm going to learn how to say this before the show's over. But her 17-year-old Norberto has a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, and Khalil, her youngest son, has a mild hearing loss, severe dyslexia, ADHD, and sensory processing disorder, along with general learning disabilities. And so in this way, the universe sometimes has us become a master of things by putting us through our paces and really having to learn and deal with it up close. So while Brenda's helping all of these people in her area of New Jersey, she's also living this and walking her talk in her daily life. I'm so grateful to have her here today to impart her wisdom. If you have a special needs child or you know someone who does, Brenda's message today is that there are not only resources available and people who genuinely care, but that there is also hope. So call your friends and have them tune in, because the Caring Calvary has arrived. And I'm so happy to have you with us today on Evolve, Brenda. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Monet. It's good to be here.
Yes, and I'm so happy to have you here. And I was thinking while I was reading your intro, I thought, did I forget anything under that umbrella of things that you do? I know that there's so many.
Yeah, but under this year, those are the positions that I have. I mean, it's good to know that SPAN is the Statewide Parent Advocacy Network, so for short we call ourselves SPAN, and we are the Parent Training Information Center for the state of New Jersey.
Okay, so there you guys go. I knew I was missing something, so I wanted to get that right. But before we get into your story, can you just tell us a little bit about your upbringing?
Yes, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, except for the ages of 5 to 11, where I lived in New York, in the Bronx.
My hometown.
Yes. I come from a very, very conservative, traditional family, so I didn't get the full living in Bronx experience, because my mom would take us to school, take us back home, and you're not allowed to go out, not even, to friends' houses or anything. Very traditional. But I do appreciate that, because it does give you other insights. And I was married in Puerto Rico to the kids' dad. They were born in Puerto Rico, so I've spent most of my life in Puerto Rico until September 2005 when I came to New Jersey.
Oh, okay. So most of your life Puerto Rico, and then here you are now here in America. And so I'm curious, and we'll get into that a little bit, but how was the transition with figuring out that your kids may have some special needs, and the difference between Puerto Rico and being here? Is there a difference?
There is a difference, and I was very fortunate that I didn't experience what I've noticed and heard from other parents. Their experience has been here in the United States. Puerto Rico has a lot of services that are very similar to the services that are offered here, for example, early intervention. So my kids did benefit from early intervention. Things are spread out more because of different resources and capacity, but my son was diagnosed at 2.5, which sometimes some parents don't get, and it's very crucial, that whole early detection piece. I can say that, my son did develop typically, he had words in English, words in Spanish. He said bye-bye, waved his hand, blew kisses, and then overnight he basically lost everything. I started noticing some changes with these huge tantrums, which the dad would blow off and say, he's just being a little macho guy,
right.
a tough guy. And I'm like, these tantrums don't look like what I've seen other kids do. They're like so extreme.
Right.
And one day, I received WIC services, women infant care services, and the nurse is looking at me and says, "You do realize since he's been here, he hasn't said a word." And I looked at her and I said, "You know what? It's been a while, and he does have words. But if I take him to a speech pathologist, he's not going to do anything that she says. I mean, he's too young." But I still said, "You know what? Better safe than sorry." Went to the speech pathologist, and I'm talking to her and giving her this is his personality. And she just looks at me and says, "You do realize that what you consider his personality are autism traits." And,
wow.
I was like, "Are you sure about that?" And she said, "Yes. I can't diagnose, make the following appointments." I went home. I was very fortunate. I had computer. I spoke English and read English, so I was able to do all my search, and lo and behold, she was correct. Out of 12 characteristics, he had like 11, and I was thinking they were just, personality traits. He liked to line up toys, he liked to look up at the sky. He liked to follow lines. He was very organized. So I was like, okay, that's just his personality. And sometimes as a parent, you try to find coincidence like, he does this just like Grandpa. He does this just like Dad. So there's, nothing wrong. But I did what I had to do. I went on many appointments. Some were good, some were awful. And a team finally diagnosed him at 2.5 of being severely autistic.
Okay. Now, there has been a lot of fodder in the media and a lot of conversation about vaccinations and the connection to this. And just give me your opinion. I know you're not a medical professional, and anybody listening, we are just theorizing here. But do you have any thoughts on that, especially being a mother who watched her son transform overnight, like you said, from a person that was interacting and had all these cognitive reasoning skills to someone that was displaying 11 out of 12, symptoms of autism?
Well, I will say that at that point when he was being diagnosed, and I am doing all my research, and that was something that just it continued to pop up. And it was something that I did have to read on and research. And when you see your child doing things and all of a sudden he's not, and you can correlate it to when he was vaccinated and the changes of, today it's 3 vaccines, but then they changed the law and now it's 5 vaccines. It started to affect me, and I started thinking, this could be it, this maybe, when I start looking at the family background, there's a lot of immunological disorders within the family, so there might be a predisposition.
Okay.
But right now, after I continue to do research and I continue to talk to experts and I've been to many conventions with medical professionals, I realize, there's not anything that backs this theory up.
Okay.
So from a research standpoint, from, an analytical standpoint, no. There's no proof out there, so it's not something that I'm going to say that's what it is.
Absolutely. Totally understand.
But then from a mother standpoint who watched her son, regress completely, there's always that little thing in you, what if? But at this point, I won't know. And at this point, I already have moved on from wanting a cure. I don't think, he is who he is. He's perfect the way he is, and I just want him to live a full life and be included and have all the opportunities, and that battle alone takes all my time than worrying if the vaccines did or didn't.
That's what I love about your whole attitude about this in our conversations, Brenda, is that you are forward thinking and forward moving. It's never about kind of wallowing in self-pity or anything that some parents have done. I've been a teacher. I have shared that with the audience before for many years. And so I've seen parents on various ends dealing with this issue with an autistic child. And you literally have the best attitude of any that I've ever encountered, because you're all about empowering your children to be the best that they can be. And so at this point, you've become your own advocate. You're not only creating services, but you're taking part in grants that are written and to provide services to other mothers and fathers and parents that have been in your shoes. And I believe that many times we're kind of catapulted into our fate and destiny when something doesn't go the way that we would like it to. Can you tell us about how leaving the job you were at in the position you were at to enter this field that you're currently in kind of helped you really dig your heels in to this advocacy and being able to help your children and be hands-on for other children?
Yes. When I was in Puerto Rico and my son got diagnosed, and I was the one doing reading all these books in English and researching and telling therapists what to do, a few parents started, to call me, and I loved, sharing my story and sharing all this information I had, because I didn't think it was fair for them not to. So I've always had this little passion of educating people. I just didn't realize it. I remember my mom saying, you have to take time for your kids, people should be doing their own research. When I moved to New Jersey, I started working with attorneys, and I worked my way up to being an administrative assistant, and I was very fortunate of being laid off because of the economy. It was something that, happened at the time. It was devastating, to be unemployed. New Jersey is a very expensive state. But I always, for the past years, I had been looking into SPAN because I did like the work they did, but I just didn't have the courage to leave, a full-time job to grab a few hours somewhere else. Being a single mother, you need that paycheck. So here I am, unemployed. Opportunity comes, a few hours, 10 hours, I recall, for the Superstorm Sandy Resiliency Project, and I jumped on it because it was either that or I was completely unemployed, so, might as well, right, join the company. And
yeah.
I was fortunate to get selected, and that was the project that I got hired under initially.
I love how you said you were fortunate enough to be laid off. That is just such an amazing way to look at that. What a glass half full way to look at your situation in life. And I think that a lot of people can relate to having situations like that in their lives that seem like a mishap, but they really end up being a great blessing,
Yes.
Yeah.
It is something that we have to look at it that way. And, once I was there, I kept thinking, there will be other projects, I'll eventually get there to full time, but I think I found, my calling. I am where I need to be, and that was what kept, motivating me. Also, SPAN provides a lot of training, so this wasn't just about professional. Personally, I was gaining something out of it to help my children too.
Absolutely. So how did you go from 10 hours and working your way into all these other hats that you're wearing with the Standing Still Project and everything else?
Well, SPAN, as we get grants, we get job postings internally, and as soon as I would see something, I was like, maybe I'll apply for this one. And I was very fortunate from Superstorm Sandy Resiliency Project, I was able to get a few hours under Parent to Parent as a parent associate. I was also the Family Resource Specialist for the County of Passaic, and those jobs were, to me, instrumental